The US has launched a bold new trade offensive against Canada, slapping a sweeping 35% tariff on most Canadian goods as of August 2025. Energy, however, gets special treatment. Canadian oil, gas, and electricity face a lower 10% tariff, reflecting their critical role in the US economy. President Trump has warned Canada any retaliation will trigger even higher tariffs, and attempts to dodge them will be punished. This marks a dramatic break from decades of close economic partnership, throwing North American supply chains into chaos and uncertainty. The energy exception may cushion the blow for U.S. consumers, but the overall policy threatens to reshape the continent's economic landscape for years to come. Canadian leaders, especially in energy-rich provinces, responded with fierce rhetoric threatening to cut off electricity and oil exports to the U.S. Ontario Premier Doug Ford warned of pulling the plug on power to states like Michigan and New York, while Alberta hinted at withholding oil and gas. These threats rattled U.S. industries, but so far they remain just that, threats. No energy supplies have been cut, pipelines and power lines continue to hum. The reason? Cutting off energy would hurt Canada two shattering contracts, damaging its reputation, and risking even harsher U.S. retaliation. For now, Canada is keeping its energy weapon holstered, using the threat as leverage while seeking longer-term solutions. The standoff underscores the high stakes and mutual vulnerabilities in this escalating trade war. In recent years, the economic landscape has shifted dramatically, particularly concerning international trade relationships. With U.S. trade ties fraying under new pressures and policies, Canada has found itself at a critical juncture, prompting a re-evaluation of its global economic strategy. Canada is fast-tracking its pivot to Asia, recognizing the immense potential and opportunities that lie within the burgeoning Asian markets. This strategic shift involves strengthening diplomatic ties, fostering trade agreements, and enhancing economic cooperation across various sectors. To facilitate this pivot, Canada is investing heavily in building new pipelines and export terminals. These infrastructure projects are crucial for transporting resources and goods efficiently, ensuring that Canada can effectively reach global markets and meet the growing demands of Asian economies. The Trans Mountain Expansion (TMX) pipeline, a project of national significance, is now fully operational. This expansion significantly increases the pipeline's capacity, enabling a greater volume of resources to be transported from Alberta to the Pacific coast. This vital infrastructure is sending Alberta oil straight to the Pacific, opening up new avenues for export and trade. The TMX pipeline represents a key component of Canada's strategy to diversify its export markets and reduce its reliance on a single trading partner. This allows for the first time direct access to Asian markets, reducing transit times and enhancing competitiveness. This direct access is poised to transform Canada's energy sector, creating new opportunities for growth and investment. Further solidifying Canada's position as a global energy player, Canada's first major LNG export terminal, LNG Canada in Kitimat, is set to open. This state-of-the-art facility will enable Canada to export liquefied natural gas to meet the increasing energy demands of Asia. This ambitious project is backed by global energy giants from Asia and Europe, highlighting the international confidence in Canada's energy sector and its potential for long-term growth. These partnerships underscore the strategic importance of Canada's energy resources in the global market. These projects mark a fundamental shift, a strategic reorientation of Canada's economic priorities and trade relationships. They represent a move towards greater diversification and resilience in the face of global economic uncertainties. Canada is no longer tied to a single customer, giving it greater flexibility and control over its economic destiny. This diversification allows Canada to tap into new markets and reduce its vulnerability to fluctuations in any single economy. Economic studies suggest up to $38 billion a year in revenue in oil and LNG exports could be strategically redirected from the U.S. to the rapidly growing markets of Asia and Europe, capitalizing on higher demand and more favorable pricing. This shift could be amplified if more pipelines are built, further enhancing Canada's export capacity and competitiveness in the global energy market. Continued investment in infrastructure is essential to realizing this potential. What began as a sound business case driven by market opportunities is now a national imperative, reflecting a broader understanding of Canada's economic security and long-term prosperity. Canada is determined to control its economic destiny, ensuring its future prosperity and stability in an increasingly interconnected and competitive global economy. This is being achieved by opening new gateways to the world, expanding its reach and influence in international trade and commerce. These gateways are vital for facilitating the flow of goods, services, and investment between Canada and its global partners. The trade war has turned diversification from a mere talking point, discussed in boardrooms and policy papers, into a critical survival strategy, essential for navigating the complexities and uncertainties of the modern global economy. This proactive approach is positioning Canada for long-term success and resilience. The strategic pivot westward, focusing on Asian markets, is no longer just a plan on paper. The impact of Canada's westward pivot is already visible in the numbers, painting a clear picture of a shifting energy landscape. We're witnessing a tangible transformation, driven by growing demand and Canada's ability to meet it. In less than a year, Canadian oil exports to China soared from 25,000 to over 350,000 barrels per day. This dramatic surge underscores the speed and scale of this energy transition, highlighting China's increasing reliance on Canadian resources to fuel its economic engine. The growth is not just incremental, it's a quantum leap. An explosive increase. This exponential growth demonstrates the immense potential of the Asian market and Canada's capacity to capitalize on it. It's a testament to the efficiency of the infrastructure and the strength of the trade relationships being forged. That March 2025 volume alone was over 16% of what Russia sent to China in all of 2024. This comparison puts the magnitude of Canada's entry into the Chinese market into perspective. It signifies a significant shift in market share and a growing preference for Canadian energy sources. Other Asian markets are joining in. The demand for Canadian energy isn't limited to China. Singapore and South Korea have ramped up imports, recognizing the reliability and quality of Canadian energy resources. These nations are strategically diversifying their energy portfolios, and Canada is emerging as a key partner in their long-term energy security, and new propane export terminals are being built to serve the region. This infrastructure development is crucial for facilitating the flow of Canadian energy to meet the growing demand across Asia. These investments are paving the way for sustained growth in exports. The TMX pipeline and new LNG terminals, representing significant investments in Canadian energy infrastructure, have made Canada a major player in Asia almost overnight. These strategic assets are enabling Canada to efficiently deliver its resources to meet the energy needs of a rapidly growing continent. This is not a slow shift, unfolding gradually over years. It's a rapid realignment of global energy flows. The speed at which Canada has established itself as a key energy provider to Asia is remarkable, reshaping established trade routes and challenging traditional energy partnerships. Asia is now a key customer, reducing Canada's risk and expanding its opportunities. This diversification of markets strengthens Canada's energy sector, making it more resilient to global economic fluctuations and creating new avenues for growth and prosperity. The numbers make it clear. Canada's energy future is increasingly tied to the Pacific. This strategic alignment positions Canada to benefit from the dynamic growth and increasing energy demands of the Asian economies for decades to come. The Pacific Ocean is now a vital artery in Canada's energy future. Despite the surge toward Asia, Canada's energy infrastructure is still overwhelmingly built for exports to the U.S. The TMX pipeline is a breakthrough, but it's just one route. Most oil and gas still flows south. Building more pipelines, especially to the East Coast, faces huge regulatory, political, and financial hurdles. Eastern Canada even imports foreign oil, despite the country's vast production. True independence from the U.S. market will take years and massive investment. For now, American buyers remain essential, and new infrastructure is slow to materialize. The pivot to Asia is real, but the journey away from U.S. dependency is a marathon, not a sprint. Canadian producers must navigate higher tariffs and discounted prices while they build for the future. The U.S. may be an energy giant, but it's deeply reliant on Canadian imports, especially electricity and heavy crude. States like Michigan and New York depend on Canadian hydropower. A cutoff would mean price spikes and grid instability. Midwest refineries are built for Canadian oil sands crude. Losing that supply would force costly, inefficient alternatives. Even a partial disruption could trigger fuel shortages and price surges at the pump. The U.S. can't escalate the trade war without risking pain for its own consumers. This mutual dependency complicates Washington's aggressive tariff strategy. The energy link is both a pressure point and a restraint in the ongoing conflict. Ironically, the U.S. trade war is accelerating Canada's integration with Asia, making Asian economies the big winners. China, Japan, and South Korea are eager for stable non-Middle Eastern energy, and Canada fits the bill. The TMX pipeline and LNG Canada terminal are forging new long-term supply chains across the Pacific. Asian companies aren't just customers, they're equity partners, ensuring a lasting relationship. The U.S. is notably absent from these new ventures. Canada's economic identity is shifting, with public and political support for global energy exports at an all-time high. The trade war meant to punish Canada is instead helping it build new alliances, with Asia emerging as the clear beneficiary. The intricate web of global energy is constantly being redrawn, influenced by a multitude of factors. One significant catalyst is the evolving U.S.-Canada trade relationship, which is having a profound impact on the global energy map. This dispute is not just about tariffs and trade balances, it's about fundamentally altering the flow of energy resources across continents. It's rerouting established flows of oil and gas that once seemed as permanent as the geographical features they traversed. These shifts are creating new dependencies and challenging long-held assumptions about energy security and supply chains. The implications are far-reaching, affecting not only the economies of North America, but also the energy strategies of nations around the globe. In response to these changes, Canada is actively building new supply chains that extend far beyond its traditional North American market, with a keen focus on Asia. This strategic pivot involves significant investments in infrastructure and logistics to facilitate the export of its abundant energy resources to meet the growing demands of Asian economies. This makes the Asian region a primary destination for Canadian oil and gas, solidifying its role as a key player in the global energy landscape. The construction of new LNG terminals and expansion of existing port facilities are crucial components of this strategy, enabling Canada to efficiently deliver its resources to Asian markets. As a result, Asian economies stand to gain a stable and reliable new supplier of energy, bolstering their economic growth and industrial development. This diversification of energy sources enhances their energy security and reduces their dependence on traditional suppliers, fostering greater stability in the region. Conversely, the U.S. faces new vulnerabilities and potentially less leverage in the global energy arena. The shift in Canadian energy exports away from the U.S. market could lead to increased competition for resources and potentially higher energy prices, impacting American industries and consumers. The long-standing era of the U.S. as Canada's almost exclusive major energy market is definitively coming to an end, marking a significant turning point in the energy relationship between the two nations. This transition requires a re-evaluation of energy strategies and a recognition of the evolving dynamics in the North American energy market. This shift is fundamentally altering the power dynamic in North America, creating new opportunities and challenges for both the U.S. and Canada. The implications extend beyond energy trade, influencing broader economic and political relationships between the two countries. Canada's strategic investments in export infrastructure are not just about diversifying its markets, they are actively contributing to the creation of a more multipolar energy world, where no single nation dominates the global energy landscape. This diversification of energy sources and trade routes enhances global energy security and reduces the risk of disruptions caused by geopolitical events. The aftershocks of this trade war and the resulting energy realignment will undoubtedly be felt in global markets for many years to come, impacting investment decisions, commodity prices, and energy policies worldwide. What initially began as a seemingly isolated tariff battle is now playing a significant role in accelerating a worldwide energy transition towards more sustainable and diversified sources. The need for energy security and the desire to reduce carbon emissions are driving investments in renewable energy technologies and infrastructure. The future of energy is undeniably more global, characterized by interconnected networks and diverse supply chains, more competitive than ever before, and consequently, less predictable, demanding greater adaptability and strategic foresight from all stakeholders.